Hello and welcome back to Microteaching with Mr. Newmark. This is the third video in the sequence of videos on British medicine between 1250 and the present day for the 9:1 GCSE specification. The question we're answering is this one. Explain why there were so many medical discoveries in the 19th century. It is not correct to answer a question like this by just describing the achievements and the discoveries that were made. It will get you some marks, but not enough. What you must do is explain the reasons for these achievements. Now, to make that clear, I've written all of the reasons in different colours on this part of the board. Then I've placed corresponding dots next to each achievement. If the coloured dot that corresponds with the reason can be seen under the achievement, then we can be confident it played an important role in that discovery or achievement being made. Now, to answer the question right, I'm going to give you a few examples of how that might look on an exam paper. And then after that, we'll have a go at evaluating, see if we can decide which of the factors was the most important. So I'm going to start with chance. I'm going to say that chance was important to the many discoveries that happened in the 19th century, and a good example of this would be Jenner's smallpox vaccination. This was because if it had not been for Jenner's chance encounter with a milkmaid who had cowpox and knew that gave her immunity to smallpox, he would never have pursued that idea, and it would never have led to the vaccination which saved thousands of lives and millions of lives in the world in the long run. I'm also going to say that chance was extremely important to the discovery of chloroform, which James Simpson found had surgery. This was because it was at a party in which Simpson was sniffing chemicals with his friends to see what would happen. They discovered chloroform. They did not know that chloroform was going to knock them out and place them under the table, which means that we can strongly attribute this discovery to luck. Let's do one more factor to get this point home, and then we'll have a go at evaluating. And the factor that I'm going to look at for this one is individuals. And we're going to start with the example of Jenner again. We're going to say that Jenner was a great individual with real perseverance and determination. If he hadn't have had that perseverance and determination, he wouldn't have published his ideas and presented them to the more established medical doctors who initially dismissed them. So if it had not been for his unique personal qualities, this discovery may never have happened, or may have happened much later. Another example of this, we could use Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale was also a character with very unique personality traits. She was not meek, mild, and obedient, as women of her class were expected to be during the 19th century, but was determined. And if it hadn't been for this determination, she would never have travelled out to the Crimea to set up the hospital that showed the world that by cleaning hospitals, sterilising them, and treating patients with dignity, you could have a massive effect on mortality rates. If this had never been discovered, well then she would never have set up schools for nurses, and she would never have written books such as Notes on Nurses, which then spread these ideas around Britain as a whole. I hope you're beginning to get the idea of this now. Once you've done that for each factor, once you can explain why each factor helped lead to the corresponding discoveries, it's important that you evaluate. That means deciding which of these factors was the most significant in overall medical discovery in the 19th century. I'm going to give you a model, and I'm going to say it was new attitudes to seek improvement which was the most important to the overall improvements we see in the specified time period. And this is because if it had not been for changing attitudes that originated in the Renaissance with the disapproval of the four humours and the breaking of the power of the Catholic Church, very few people would have been interested in finding new and better methods of how to do things. This was because they would have continued to believe that diseases were primarily the result of God's will, and if you believe that, there is little point in actually trying to find a better way, because you'll be going against an act over which you have no power. Okay, that's all for now. I would conclude by just checking you can do these three things. Can you now describe the achievements that took place in the 19th century in detail with dates? Can you link these factors to these achievements? Can you explain why these achievements were made? And lastly, and this will take some time, are you beginning to evaluate the significance of factors? Are you developing views and opinions as to which of these was the most important? And can you come up with an insightful reason for that decision? As always, thank you very much for listening. More videos to follow.